All right, hello everyone. Welcome back to the Anatomy Labs. This is a quick review of the actions of different parts of the body. So when we're talking about flexion of the arm, you want to remember that flexing the arm is really about flexing or extending, moving really the humerus, okay? So the humerus up here instead of the radius and the ulna. Okay, so when we're talking about flexing the arm, so flexing the arm really moves upward like this. Okay, so flexing the arm like that. So if you think about, flexing means decreasing the angle, right? So if you think about the angle as 180 degrees going upward, okay, from here to here, if we're flexing, then we're decreasing that 180 degrees to less, right? To around 90 degrees. If we're extending the arm, again, thinking about the 180 degrees here, then now we're moving it posteriorly towards the back, right? So this would be extending the arm, okay? Now when we're talking about the forearm, okay, so forearm is different from the arm, right? So forearm, thinking further out, right? So if we're flexing the forearm, we're decreasing the angle this way. Decreasing the angle. Okay? And now if we were to extend the forearm, let's say we're starting from this, we're extending and increasing the angle this way. Okay? So starting from here, we're increasing the angle and extending. Now again with the supination and pronation. So again, if we have it, holding a bowl of soup, this is soup. And then to pronate, we would flip it over, right? So this is pronate. And then to bring it up, to bring your palms back up, you have supination. Dorsiflexion and plantar flexion. So if we're thinking about dorsiflexion, again, you want to remember it is as if we're holding the door open for someone. Okay, so dorsiflexion brings the foot upwards, so your toes up, so it forms like that. So that's dorsiflexion, going up this way. So if I had a door right here, kind of stopping the door with that. Okay, so stopping the door, having my foot up like that. Plantar flexion, if we think of this as the ground, we want to plant our foot, similar to how plants are in the ground. So if you plant our foot, you're planting it towards the ground. Okay, so planting, going downwards, planting it down. Flexing and extending the thigh or the leg, right? So when we're talking about the thigh, we're specifically talking about the femur, right here. When we're talking about the leg, we're explicitly talking about the tibia and the fibula down below. Okay, so when we're talking about extension and flexion of the thigh, and we will be explicit about that, again, we're talking about the femur. So if we were to flex, if we're thinking about it as a 180 degree turn right here, we have flexion, decreasing the angle, right? So 180 degree angle right here. We are decreasing the angle this way. Okay, so this would be flexing the thigh, or flexing the leg at the thigh. And so we can also flex like this. Okay, so again, bringing the femur closer to the torso. And when we're talking about extending the thigh, thinking about that 180 degree angle right here, we are then increasing that angle further out. Okay? Increasing the angle further out. Now when we're talking about flexing and extending the leg, again, remember we're talking about the tibia and the fibula. As you might remember with the forearm, we have our elbow towards the posterior side as well as, but then our knee is on the anterior side. Okay, so remember that when we have our 180 degrees this way, it's opposite, right? So for our elbow, we had our 180 degrees towards the front, right? 180 degrees like this. Whereas for the leg, we have our 180 degrees this way. Similar to the thigh, we have our 180 degrees towards the front, right? Towards this front right here. Whereas for the leg, again, it's towards the back, okay? So if we're talking about flexing the leg, we want to imagine a 180 degree angle this way, and we're decreasing that angle. So if we're going to decrease the angle, we will go from 180 degrees to 90 or less. But if we're talking about now extending the leg, say we start at 90 degrees, we will then increase that angle to go 180 degrees. So again, starting from 90 degrees, we're going to increase the angle from here to 180 degrees. Abduction and adduction. So recall that abduction, ABD, we are taking away. So we're taking a limb away from the body, right? So in this case, if we're talking about the arm and we are abducting the arm, we want to take it away from the body laterally. So abducting would look like this. So again, taking it away from the body. And if we were to adduct the arm, then we can start from here and we are adding it back to the body. Okay, so remember that adduction, adding it back to the body. If we're talking about the hand, okay, so if we're talking about abducting and adducting the hand, again, recall abducting, taking away from the body. So if we are abducting the hand at the wrist, and remember that we are always referring to anatomical position where our thumbs are facing laterally. Abducting would be taking the hand away from the body at the wrist, so going this way. Whereas adducting the hand at the wrist would be going from here and adding it back to the body. Okay, so going from here and we're adding it back. When we're talking about the thigh or the leg at the thigh, again, remember abduction, taking away. So abduction of the thigh would look like this. Okay, so taking it away like that. And if we are to adduct, we're adding it back to the body. So say let's start from this. We're adding it back to the body. So adding it medially. Whereas abduction, we're going laterally. All right. Thank you, Bob.